2, 3, 4, 5 star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And also make sure you're subscribing to us on Spotify. And like I said at the beginning of the show, we now are doing video podcasts on YouTube. So make sure you check out Carlos Dillard's YouTube. That was weird. I just said my, well, it's the name of the YouTube. It's just my name, y'all. I hate talking about myself in third person. Also, like I said earlier in the show, make sure you send this to someone who would like to share their stories. Shanna is just sharing an amazing story about a net positive experience, but even still talking about that loss. And I think that these are the type of conversations that a lot of adoptive parents, because so many people, when they hear, especially like adoption reform, they think that you're anti-adoption, you're anti-children finding safe homes, and absolutely that's not the case. We would just like more legal protections, right, and more
Mm-hmm.
protections for children, and more rights for children as far as birth certificates and unadoption and annulment, and then honestly just people being more educated, and like we were saying, having more therapists educated and having more parents educated. So it's really important for us to share stories like Shanna's, because it's a net positive experience. So there's nothing that her adoptive parents necessarily did wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
adoption itself starts at a loss, and if we don't acknowledge that, um then we're going to have a lot of traumatized children, and we see the statistics that adoptees go through with their mental health and addictions and things like that. So with that being said, Shanna, we were talking about before our break, being infants, and I want to hear about what your theory is, or what your idea on the blank slate theory. What is your, even though I
Mm-hmm.
know technically it's already been debunked, like there's no blank
Yeah.
slate theory, but we still hear
No.
about it a lot when people say like, oh, you're a newborn baby, you don't remember anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of been the thinking for all of history up until very recently, that babies are just, you know, just a blank slate. You can just they don't have complex emotions or feelings, but that's we know now that's not the case. Like babies can experience depression and anxiety and grief and fear and all of the same exact emotions that grown-ups can feel. They just can't express it in
Mm,
the most complex of ways. So even though they can't say like, "Hey, I'm depressed. Where's my mom? I can't find her." All of those feelings are in the body, being stored in the body and being stored in the mind, and come out later in life. So it's a lot needs to be done to educate adoptive parents on what to do for their little babies. Like again, I'm not anti-adoption. I'm pro education for
hmm.
adoptive parents
Yeah,
because
I
there's a
tell people, I
lot that you
say
can do.
not anti-adoption, I'm pro-reform, because there we need
Yeah,
to and,
I
and
like that.
here's the thing, there's no system in any country that's going to be 100% good, right? And that's
Right.
what
Yeah.
it frustrates me so much, because I'm like, this is a system, and it actually has a $25 billion private sector, an industry, and we
Mhm.
just think it's okay, and nobody's going to check, and nobody's
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
Just
Well, and I
like,
think and a lot of it, I think a lot maybe part of it is a lot of it's tied to religion. So it's like,
mhm.
the religious part, love and light and, all of that stuff. So that kind of complicates things in a lot of ways, I think. But um and I'm not religious. I'm more spiritual. So I might have a little negative reaction when I hear, all the religious stuff tied to it. Um but yeah, I think I one thing that I want to do is start um training adoptive parents on what they can do. Like for example, I know that when I was a baby at that time, you put your baby in the crib at night alone and you let it sleep by itself, and it's sort of the cry
Mhm.
it out method. Would you, if you had a little toddler that just witnessed its parent dying in front of them, would you let them cry it out alone all night long?
No.
Probably not. So just little things like that, like a little newborn baby going through grief needs to be held all the time. Like you can't hold it too much. That theory, like, oh, the baby's manipulating you by crying and you're holding it too much, like that is false. Hold
Mhm.
that baby all the time, skin to skin or whatever. Like just give that baby all the love and attention. Like just little simple things like that. Like cry it out method, bad. Don't do that.
Bad. No, and
Yeah.
so I started doing lived experience consulting about 2 years ago, and it's a field that there aren't many of us. I think I know a
Hmm.
handful. Isaac Ether is one. He's an adoptee. Myself, and there's like a few other adoptees I've met online, who offer lived experience consulting. But there's not, because there's like no. you need to be an adoptee to do it, first of
Right. Well, and I
all.
think people don't realize that how it's needed. Like people
And
don't
it is
realize that
well,
it's needed.
and the issue. Well, and here's the issue: is we have a with this we have some classism, some capitalism, some racism. All of the
Mhm.
isms are in there, right?
Yep.
Because people even ask me like, "How are you qualified to teach for psychiatrists and all of these people and these doctors?" And I said, "Because I know something that
Mhm.
they don't know." Just
Yeah.
because I don't have letters
Yeah.
behind my name does not mean I'm less smart. I just
Right.
they have a different experience than me, and they want to work in a field where they're going to work with people like me. So if they don't have that
Mhm.
experience, then let me show them and let me educate them. And I
Right.
think that that's a lot of it, especially like for me, it's being a childless person by choice. Like I don't want
Mhm.
children.
Mhm.
I just don't. I don't want children, but I'm
Yeah.
glad that I know that me and my husband know we don't want children because I help so many people and so many kids. I couldn't imagine. I did it for a year with my niece and I was exhausted.
Mhm.
I had to stop
Yeah.
advocating. I had to stop my work mostly because I couldn't deal with a child who was going through similar traumas as me in my home at 13
Yeah.
years old, right? And then go to work all day and deal with people and
Yeah.
their children and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot."
It's a lot. I
So
have
like
2.
I'm like, "Oh no."
And they're teenagers now, so it's easier, but I think that's probably
Sometimes it's
why.
harder when they're teenagers because
Well,
then
yeah. It is.
you
It
just
is.
can't
I think
appease
that's
them with some
why.
cookies or something.
That's true. Money. You can appease them with money.
Money. They want money and credit cards.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
but I think it is a space that we need more people, and I'm so excited to hear that you're going to enter the lived experience consulting space because,
Mhm.
like you said early in the show, adoptive parents don't have anywhere to turn. There's no rule book.
No.
They go to the agencies, and the agencies just tell them some love them, love.
Right.
Like wait, they don't give
Yeah.
you any
Just
type of
pray
actual
pray about it.
resources.
You'll be fine.
Pray
Yeah.
about it. Give up.
Yeah.
My mother says she gave up chocolate for me. Like what
Oh,
was
good.
that doing for us?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and people think, well, I'm a good person, and that's great. I'm sure you are a good person. But if you're adopting a child, you have to know that there's trauma that comes with that, and there's some special things you need to do to help with that. So, yeah, it doesn't
Absolutely.
make you a bad person for not knowing what to do, but you should be open to learning about what you need to do if you
And
want your child to succeed.
I think it's really important for it's so cool to see more lived experience consultants like coming up and doing the work because Isaac, he's a transracial adoptee, but him and his parents are like close. Like they work together. They
Hmm.
train other
Oh,
like
that's
adoptive
cool.
parents. It's really really cool. I mean, I wish
Yeah.
my relationship, but it's not even close. I haven't seen my adoptive parents since I was 15. But like so he
Oh.
does the education of like with his adoptive mom and she's white and like they address like how to raise a black child but like also unpacking your internalized racism things. But he doesn't get as deep
Mhm.
as I do when it gets into like racism because he didn't experience that. His parents were always
Mhm.
like kind of liberal and even though they were white, they were understood race. So he didn't have to go
Mhm.
through the same experiences as me as being the only black kid in my house, in my town, in my school, and going through severe racism and even having parents who believe that black people are below them, right? So when he
Mm.
does his classes, they're so cool because I've done a couple courses and classes with him and even though we are very, very similar in our 30s, transracial adoptees, our education is so different because he's very much like, love all children, bring them into your home. Just, and then but me, I'm just like, bitch, leave them black people away. Leave them alone unless it's like necessary, unless you've truly gone out of your way to do, and you as a white person, you will never be fully educated. But making sure that you're in
Mhm.
diverse neighborhoods, that they're in a diverse school, that you have relations
Mhm.
and connections with culture and their family. I mean, like actual people that you know, that you
Yeah.
can talk to. I then maybe, but I don't see most white folks doing that. They don't because they
No.
believe they're
No.
good people. And they're
Right.
not going to go out of their way, right, to
Right.
live in a
Right.
neighborhood that is diverse and make sure their child
Yeah.
has access to their culture and biological
Yep.
connections. So,
Yep.
like for me, it's like adoption is already like cutting off a limb, but transracial adoption is like
Mhm.
cutting off both of your legs. I'm
Oh,
already
yeah.
losing a leg, okay?
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
already losing a leg with
Yeah.
adoption. And now
Right.
because then like that, I want to talk about identity crisis.
I
I grew
bet.
up, I
Yeah.
grew up thinking, I grew up calling myself a gay conservative atheist. Don't know what the fuck that is.
I like it. I like it.
And then I grew up having to unpack a lot of internalized racism and internalized hate. And
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
parents never taught me how to care for my hair or my skin, so I just did buzz cuts. And then like now as an adult, I've learned and I love my hair and I love the different styles I can do, and there's so much personality and there's just so much history. Even like even with my style
Mhm.
now, there's so much history that they just didn't bother to teach me or care for. And it would have been so much helpful if I would have had that, you know? So I'm not
Yeah.
100% against it, but I'm not 100% for it either. And then with people like yourself, you can come in and say, I had a net positive experience. Because that's the
Mhm.
number one thing they're going to say is, oh, you're just bitter
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're just bitter because you got a bad adoption. So then when we have people like you, like, no, I had a great adoption. My parents are great. I still
Yeah.
struggle with shit.
Right. Yes. Yes. Well, and I think like the race part too. I've done a lot of work around my own white privilege and things like that. And I'm like, how can I use that to help people? And I feel like most people who adopt are white and they'll
Mhm.
listen to a white person. So I want to help with that because I've seen influencers. There's a bunch of them on TikTok who have adopted Asian babies and
Yep.
black babies. And I'm like, I don't see you doing anything cultural for them. Like you're just living in your white experience. So I want to try to help people. Like,
And you know what's crazy? You say that. So you're right. White people will listen to you even though we have the same similar experiences, we have the
I
same
know
education.
it's,
They will open up doors for you, and it takes
I
like
know.
I have to shuck and jive, literally shuck
Yeah,
and people always ask me.
that
So
sucks.
I always have a personal assistant. The two personal assistants I've had have been white women, and people say, "Well, Carlos, you're so like pro black. Why do you hire white people?" I'm like, "Well, because one, they're qualified, and then two,
Hmm.
I know when we walk into rooms or when Laura, my assistant, walks into a room or she gets on a phone call, they automatically
Hmm.
respect the hell out of her. She doesn't have
Yeah,
to ask for it. They just
that's the
give it to
shitty
her.
world we live in.
And then we'll be in Zooms and things. We'll be making like making $10,000, $15,000 contracts. And they're
Hmm.
talking to her. Like she's the
Yeah,
owner of the business. And I'm
right.
like, and Laura will
Yeah,
be like, well, actually, you'll have to speak to Mr. Dillard about that. He's my
yeah,
boss. And they're
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's so awful. Like it's so shitty, but it's true. Like that's the world we live in. So
that
that's
is.
I'm like, how can I help elevate other people with my own privilege? And that's what
A-
I want to do. So
Absolutely. And and one thing I would talk about race a lot in your work. I would
mhm.
talk about
Mhm.
why it's important and hold your community accountable. Like, why are y'all
Yeah.
adopting so many black and brown children and you're not doing anything, right?
Right. Yeah.
Adopt your own. I mean,
Right. We're more expensive, I guess. They don't want
no,
to. That's
that's what
that's
it
so
is.
bad. Yeah.
That's what it
I know.
is. You
It
would you would
is. Well,
cost
and
right
it's
now. You would be like $65,000 right now.
probably. Yeah, I know.
Around that
It's
a
ridiculous.
blonde haired, blue eyed little girl. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
California.
I know. It's
Eighty-five
crazy. It's
thousand.
crazy. It's crazy. And it's easier too. Like it's easier. Like even if you go to China to adopt a baby, the process is long and hard. That's what she said. But in here in the US, it's even harder. So I think people just want to speed up the process. So like, oh, we'll just adopt a little Chinese baby. It's
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many layers to all of this, like race and culture and money and
And I
religion.
think,
It's
and I think
just
another thing that people don't understand is the different systems. So when I start talking about adoption, people they'll be like, adoption is free. No, it's not. It's thousands
mhm.
of dollars. But
Yeah.
they're thinking of private adoption or they're thinking of foster care to adoption, right?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
they say like there's so many thousands of kids waiting to be adopted. I'm like, actually there isn't. There's about a
Mhm.
hundred thousand children who are eligible for adoption. That doesn't mean that they are
Mhm.
desperately sitting there. Most of them are over 10. They're
Mhm.
young teens or teenagers, and
Mhm.
they just want to turn 18 and get on with their lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there are 2 million couples waiting per baby that is born. So we don't have
Mhm.
we if we had just a fourth of those people waiting to adopt infants go and adopt older children, we would not have any children in the foster care system waiting to be adopted.
Mhm.
Not one. But
Yep.
that's not the case. They don't want
Yeah.
children. They want blank slates that they can form into their own little
Yes.
humans,
Exactly.
and it won't
Yep.
work. And then they get upset when it doesn't happen. And then that's why we have a
Yep.
lot of adoptees going to troubled teen institutions. We have a lot of adoptees
Mhm.
being rehomed on Facebook like
Oh,
animals.
that pisses me off so much when I see that. Oh, it like
And some
breaks my heart. I
and
can't
some of these
even
kids are getting rehomed 7, 8 times.
I can't even like when I see those, I can't even watch them. It just breaks my heart. Like that's my soft spot. I need to like work on healing that because it just breaks my heart when I see that. I just can't
Hmm.
even imagine.
There's this show, I forget the name of the show. Finding my Finding My Family. No. It was something about it was on TLC. And it was speed dating adoptees. So like these
Oh.
kids were in foster care. And they would set up these events, like these speed dating events, and the kid would sit at the table.
Oh, I think I did see some. Oh, yes. I
This kid,
hate
and
this.
then like
Yeah.
they would have like families rotate, and then they would have to choose. They like the families would choose which kids that they were interested in. And I was like, this is, don't y'all see that this is disgusting?
Disgusting. Like
This is
that is gonna mess
disgusting.
that kid up so bad. Like you think, in PE when you like when they used to pick teams and you're like the
And
last
nobody
one.
chose you.
Yeah. How can you imagine like at an adoption event
So
and nobody chooses you?
one
Like
episode, one episode was this 16-year-old black girl, and she's like, I've been coming to these for 5 years.
oh, I can't even.
And she
That just
goes,
breaks my heart.
but she ends up finding this older, like 70-year-old lady who was like a
Uh-huh.
retired librarian. And she was like, hey, I just want to help somebody. And she ended up
Oh.
adopting her. But like she fostered her for like 2 years, and then she adopted her when she was 19. So I was just like, okay,
Okay.
that was kind of cute. That kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But like,
Okay.
gee, can we not do the
Ugh.
speed dating? Can we do a different system?
Like, why are we
So the,
treating kids like it's like I go back to the puppies. Like, why are we treating it like you're at the pound for adopted? Like, this is the pound for adopted kids. Like, just go
mhm,
pick the one you think is cutest, I guess. Like,
mhm.
what are we doing?
That's what people did in the past with orphanages. They would
Yeah,
just go
it's
and I'll take that
horrible.
one. Actually,
Yeah.
BOGO, buy one get one. I'll take two.
Oh,
Right?
it's so bad. It's so awful. Like, all we can do is laugh because it's just so bad.
Yeah,
Like,
you got to laugh instead of crying. You got to laugh instead of
yeah,
crying. So,
yeah.
Shauna, we went over a lot of topics today. We did training for adoptive parents. We did the blank slate. What is one thing, like, what is something that we haven't covered that you want to make sure that adoptive parents or adoptees know?
Oh, there's so much. I think that just if you're an adoptive parent, to just communicate. If your child comes to you and tells you they're feeling a certain way, don't just brush it off. Like, ask them about it, talk to them about it. If, yeah, lots of people get depressed and lots of people have anxiety, but it's very different for an adoptee. So just be willing to listen and be open to learning. I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm.
Just have an open mind about everything.
Yeah, and don't take it personally when people try to educate you, because I
Yes,
run into
don't
that
take it
so
personally.
much online with
Yeah.
people taking it personally. Like, you said I'm a horrible person. I said I never said that. You thought that from what
Mhm.
I'm saying because you were picking
Mhm.
up. The shoe fit. So if the
Yeah.
shoe fit,
It usually does.
tie it up and learn how to run with it, and
Right.
get better at what you're doing, because you shouldn't, like, when people say, like, I compare it all the time, because I have like my on my TikTok, I say that adoption is slavery, or like all like, or adoption could be human trafficking. They say, are you saying all adoption is bad? I was like, no. But
Mhm.
if we have so many children experiencing bad adoptions and experiencing loss and grief, even in positive adoptions, let's look at
Mhm.
reforming it, because kids should
Yeah.
not feel like this.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why do you say it's all? And I compare it with men. When women say all men are dangerous, I'd be like, yup,
Uh-huh.
yup. And then they'll be like, wait, you're not a dangerous man. I'm not one, but I do know that there's most men are not me. So if I see a
Mhm.
pattern of behavior of women being affected by men, yes, all, because it's all until there's none. So
Mhm.
that's what adoptive parents should be feeling like. I understand that you guys don't want to be shown in a negative light. Well, speak the fuck up and stand the fuck up about these parents that are doing horrible shit to their
Right.
adoptees and these
Yeah.
systems. Don't just sit here and
Yeah.
be like, well, I did a good job. Okay, well, speak up about what the
Mhm.
atrocities that are happening, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So, Shauna, thank you so much for being here on the show with us at Word of the State podcast, and sharing your
Thank you for having me.
experience. My pleasure. I always ask all of the guests one last question before we end the show, and that's
Mhm.
what's one piece of advice that you would give an adoptee who is in your same situation? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
I would tell them that everything that you are feeling and experiencing is valid. You're not crazy. You're not alone. There are many of us out there that are willing to help you. So reach out. You don't have to struggle and feel crappy and, you know, feel all those feelings by yourself.
Yourself. I love that. I love
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And like I say every week, light shiners, always shine your light, because you never know who you might be guiding in a dark space. And even a little light in a dark room helps people guide out of that dark room. So always shine your light, guys. And to next week, we'll see you then. Awesome.